I already did this video and I hit record. But right now I'm becoming mindful of my words. And instead of swearing, I was replacing the dead moments with the word like. Where did that come from? Oh no. When I say the word like, every other word, and there are dead moments with the video becomes boring and useless. At least for me. I'd prefer more a flowing stream of consciousness that is easy to digest, and constantly listening to the word like is not part of that equation. Tyranny and the male gaze. So I'm gonna reference almost the same materia that I did in the first video, but we're gonna see if I put a different spin on it. Probably not. When I first posted the title of Tyranny and the Male Gaze months back, I knew exactly what this video would be. In art school, we are constantly reinforced with the education and feminist rhetoric around the male objectification of women. It's a classic understanding. It's as old as time. We will go through art history class after art history class. Can I speak? Art history class after art history class, painting after painting after painting. One century, the 1400s, the 1500s, the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, and it's naked woman, naked woman, naked woman. See that beautiful curve in the naked woman's back. Oh wait, here we need to do Renee Magritte. Oh, more naked women misogyny. Okay. How can I make the female form look like it is attractive to the male gaze? Because that is what is important in life. The naked woman. So it's how men perceive women, that they are to be seen and looked at and not heard, century after century after century, that they are to be used. This is the same way that men look at the planet. I can cut that tree down and that tree down, and I can spike a dead seal and sell its coat online. And it's this constant exploitation of the feminine, of the goddess. God is. I have a couple stories. One is about that being viewed also through pedophilia. It's the male gaze. Very rarely is a pedophile a woman. There are some, I'm not saying there aren't, but most sex crimes come from men. We know that. There is the stereotypical 80s glasses, mustache, weird coat, like vibe, the vibe of a pedophile man. But they don't really look like that in real life. Some of them do, but that's the Hollywood depiction of what a pedophile is like. The point is this. Men view the women, or the masculine, the male, view women that they're allowed to do whatever they want without seeing the bigger picture, without having done the work, without doing the proper calculations, and without having the respect or acceptance from all the other women. So they do what they want to do because they want to do it because they know what's right. They know everything. So I'm going to preface this video with, we're going to talk about a little bit of the pedophilia. We're going to talk about the reframing devices. And start looking at things from a non-male gaze. I'm not really a fan of when it blows out everything. We're going to talk about sex crimes. Well, that will be our first one we're going to. And then we're going to talk about a confession I had to make to perform on somebody and why. Tyranny. All right. There are a number of blanket confessions that I had to make over the course of this last week. And one of them was sex crimes. Cops that kidnap and rape women. We can talk about the Black Lives Matter all we want. There is something to be said about cops that shoot black people by accident, because that is also a known issue, and it's a gray area, and it's calculated, and it's not really well prepared around, and it's just too gray, knowing all the violence that it is very real in the black communities, in the hood, okay, not in like suburbia, okay. This is a known issue. I lived in the hood, okay. I lived in the hood, and my Mexican boyfriend, I've never considered him my Mexican boyfriend, by the way, but my Mexican boyfriend, when I would come and visit him in the hood, would literally leave the apartment, come to my car, we would repark it, and he would safely walk me back to the apartment because it was the hood. All right? A cop, under the same filter, is going to be antsy around people that want them dead already. All right? So there is something to be said about the nervousness and the accidental shooting. It's not great. I don't support it, but I understand it. Now, a cop, on the other hand, that kidnaps and rapes a woman is unexpectedly black and white issue. It is bizarre. There is more crime around cops stealing women and then forcing them to suck their dick after they've falsely arrested that woman. So those cops are being confessed. Now, if those are the same cops that would accidentally shoot a black person, then yeah. And many of those women might be black. So, hey, guess what? 2 for 1. See how easy that is? Now, a cop that might kidnap and murder somebody is not the same. If it's not evil, if they're kidnapping criminals and murdering them, it's not a confessable crime. But nobody. So if they're kidnapping like bad guys or child rapists and they murder them, that those people are not being confessed. But a cop that kidnaps, rapes, and tortures women, and probably gay and trans and hate crimes, okay? It's the sexual assault. Sexual assault is just like, it's black and white. Now, in England recently, there was a giant, now this is what would count, because it runs in the 91% evil category. A cop on duty kidnapping a woman who's on a run in mid-daylight and murdering her. It's that. It's the active predatorial behavior. It's non-protective. It's purely predatorial. It's like, that is mine. I want it. I can do what I want to it. See, here's the component, is that if a cop behaves like that towards a black person or an Asian person or a Muslim person, it kind of runs in the 91% evil category, and then they're just confessed. So then it's like that's the safety net. It's that mindset. I can do what I want. That thing has no protection. It's just passive. It just does what it wants. It's like a little bunny, and it's mine. The same thing goes with pedophilia. It's little. It can't defend itself. I can manipulate it. I can do what I want to it. It's mine. That's the male gaze. That's why the planet looks like it does. So, tyranny, trying to control someone else instead of yourself. Now, the confessing magic has just begun. Through this ascension, I never thought that I would get this magic to come through, ever. This magic is like, you've done your work, 100% shadow work is complete, and now you're in like full Jesus territory, but like the ideal version of Jesus, and then the feminine version of Jesus. You're in Lady Nada territory. Nada of this, nada of that, nada this, nada that. And through the bottom of the clippeth, you've become Christ. From the bottom of the clippeth, you're like, I am Jesus at the bottom of the clippeth. Jesus wasn't even Jesus at the bottom of the clippeth. So we all understand that. So there's no more shadow work left to do for a confessor. They've also 100% attuned to the divine femme. Not the divine in between, not the divine neutral, not the divine masculine, the divine femme. Physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Physically, because biology matters. Because that's part of the goddess energy, and the god is. Sorry, it wouldn't be in physical manifest if it wasn't in physical manifest. That's part of the divine femme. So you have to be 100% in female. I can go 100% divine yin, passive. And through that divine yin, I can Shakti a confession. That. That. I'm going to talk about the confession that I had to do because I'm really upset about it. It was the end of my last video. This was somebody I never wanted to confess at all. Somebody who has been helping me week after week. But when I asked him for a confession list, he gave me a muggle list. All vegans 100% should be wiped out. QAnon wiped out forever. All promoters of any gender binary wiped out. And I go, gender binary still exists, dude. You're gonna tell a woman she isn't a woman? After decades of periods, bad sex, being stomped on by men. You're gonna tell a black person they're not black? Maybe in the astral planes. And that, wait, if they think they're a black person, that they should absolutely be wiped out. So he went around telling me that he was going around confessing people without having done any of the lower Clippeth work, which is required, without any of the white female dragons, which is required, and without being a woman, which is required, because he himself did not view himself as a man. And so that he then could take away my soul, my Akashic records, and all of my history, even if I've committed not one crime, because he decided, he was allowed to decide and control God, that there is no such thing as gender. None. And the idea that I think that I'm a woman is a crime punishable by death for infinity. Him willing to wipe out gender of all species, rabbits, snakes, giraffes, trees, that there is no such thing as gender, and the idea that there is a crime. Confessed. Because at the end of the day, Maleficent, who is Kali Ma, would spit on him. And so would 5 billion people that belong to conservative culture around the globe. So there is something that is called too progressive and completely unrespecting of anything that is real, grounded, and in the physical manifest. Where I might not support the hate crimes geared towards women or trans or middle sex individuals from those cultures. They still believe that those women are women and the trans are trans and the middle sex are middle sex. And that's life. And you can't take it away or punish it to death. Him in his overly toxic male agenda to wipe out me got confessed himself. Wait, not just me, every other woman on the planet that would look at him and go, "Thank you for telling me I am not a woman." After a decade or 2 or 3 of periods and childbearing, and just being able to own and appreciate the idea of finally sitting in my own power and love of being a woman. I finally am now in a place of life where women, being a woman is kind of awesome. We're not getting raped as much. And now I'm being forced to own that I'm not a woman? What? I just started learning how to breathe in a way where I could finally accept the idea that I'm a woman without being punished for it. And so we understand the recursive circle of the male toxic agenda. I can do what I want against them. They are not allowed to think what I don't like them thinking. Another man trying to tell another woman what to think and what to do. So let's talk about reframing. I am not a black woman, okay? Clearly, the idea that I understand exactly what a white versus a black woman thinks and feels is insanity. The idea, okay? So I can't be like, yeah, I know exactly what you guys go through. Where this man, on the other hand, did that to me. You're not a woman because I am not a man. Yes, maybe on the inside we are very similar. But at the end of the day, not even close. So, I'm really teary about this. Because it's just another form of control where somebody tried to own me. So, reframing devices. There are two media, films, TV shows that show the opposite side. One is Wonder Woman, and it shows the sexism, patriarchal society on the reverse. The other is the severe racism in the United States. Okay? But it's the severe racism everywhere. You don't really see it until you watch these. So that one's Man in the High Castle. So let me tell you about Wonder Woman. You have Chris Pine, who is naked, taking a bath in the glowing waters at Wonder Woman's castle mountain retreat. And all the women are dressed and are in Amazonian warrior gear. And you see Chris Pine naked and vulnerable and alone and like completely dependent on the mercy, sanity, and love, or just tolerance of these empowered women. And I look and I see that's exactly how I feel walking down the street every day. I am completely at the mercy of these men with their guns and their cops and their monies and their security guards and their limousines. I am completely at the mercy of these men and their sanity and tolerance of my existence because I'm a woman. And I have felt that since I was a little girl, and it never goes away. I'm completely tolerant upon the education and classiness of those men. And you really begin to see through that reframing module how patriarchal of a society we have been living in. Just by the sheer violence of men and what they'll do or try to get away with or not try to get away with. All right, the other reframing module is all race. So it's like, it's race and class, okay? World War II, imagine it if Germany and Japan won and they infiltrated the United States and they divided it in half. So then you have Japan running the west of the United States, and then you have Germany running the east of the United States. And then you see how the Japanese treat the Americans. And you go, Oh, that's how we treated the Japanese. Like, oh my God. That's how we treat the Muslims. That's how we treat African Americans. That's how we treat people. And you really begin to see the racism and the minority and the other through that reframing module. Only on the Japanese side. On the German side, it's like class warfare. So if you were not part of the German military operation, you were not of that system. So it's all class. You really begin to understand. That's exactly what the United States is doing on the planet to everyone, which is paramount to what the British did. An imperialistic dogma society. Okay. And it's an embarrassment. It sucks being a white person. It sucks being a white person. All right? Looking at minorities and going, I'm sorry for being white. I know. And I understand. Now, it does not negate the fact that I am the only mother confessor on this planet. My white privilege did not do anything to create that. In fact, if anything, I was punished and shot in the astral plane day after day because of it. It was lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that did that. It was study and practice and work and study and practice and work and study and practice and work. But I will tell you this. My femininity did it. My biology did it. My femaleness did it. So there's a difference. Now, on the end of the male gaze, Simon and I were watching The Little Princess the other night because he's in Netsock and he's attuning to the femme, the lower divine earthly femme. And then he really liked that movie. And then we decided to watch The Secret Garden because they pair really well, really nicely with each other. And he goes, this movie sucks. The book is a classic, but this movie sucks. And I'm thinking, what? Why does it suck? It's another classic. It's a classic from the 90s, and all the little kids just love watching it, and it's all they are growing a garden, and Dickon is so cute with his crow on his shoulder, and then sometimes the squirrel there, and everybody's really nice, and everybody gets along. So I finish it with him, and you see Mary get out of the bathtub, and she's naked. And normally you don't really think anything of it, but you see it. And then you see the end with the uncle like touching the girl's face and, oh, you look just like your mother. And Simon goes, there's a really strong pedophilia vibe. I'm not really sure about it in this movie. I never thought about that before. Normally I just scan over it. You gotta wonder. Reframing devices. Because it's that we're so conditioned to the male gaze. Like, why isn't it like a mommy? Like a mommy coming and saving Mary, you know? Oh, you look just like your mother. She's my best friend. Something like that. Because it doesn't really feel all that wholesome. There always just feels something a little bit off. Forever. And that's life. All right. Tyranny in the male gaze. It's through that male gaze where we forget what women are. We've never really, not through the root chakra, experienced the true divine femme. And we're only beginning down that journey here in Hesed. Because once we hit Keter and the higher worlds, it's game over. Complete rewrite of paradigm. All right, Kali Ren out.